He came to hear something where he could turn it into a quick dollar, not knowing if he heard this, he could turn it into a very fast dollar, and an honest one, not a quick one of which he would be ashamed, but a very fast one of which he'd be very proud to have. Just listening to what you've heard this night, where you're not completely held by the body, where you're floating away into the state that you're destined to be. Do you know that while you're doing that, marvelous things are taking place within you by your true being, who knows far better than your surface mind your needs? The Father knows far better what you need than your rational mind knows. And so while you're listening and suspending the rational mind and listening to his story, he is working within you. And then in a way you do not know, he brings into your world gifts. All kinds of gifts. Until finally he gives you the greatest of all gifts, which is himself. For he's giving it to himself, because he became you. And that gift is love. The greatest power in the world. So when Blake mentioned the 7 eyes, starting off with Lucifer, who would not sacrifice himself for anyone. Then he goes through to the Moloch, who feels that all problems could be solved by annihilating all opposition. Then he comes to the Elohim, who feels that he will set up judgment of everything in the world and pass judgment on all things. Then he comes to all the others, and finally comes to the one willing to sacrifice self for his brothers, that he calls friends. And then he calls the 8th. And the 8th did not come. He cannot come until that moment in time when the whole dream is over. And then he returns, but when he returns, he is the Lord God himself. He comes back to Zion, into that city of truth called Jerusalem. And all the streets are filled, they're full of boys and girls playing in the streets. And those who are present will say, it is impossible. But the one who has the experience, he will say also, it is wonderful also to me. For I can tell you when it happens to you, the awe that possesses you, the wonder that possesses you. You know on the surface it is impossible, and yet you can't deny the experience. It did happen, and you can't deny it. So those that did not receive the experience, they will say it is impossible. But the one who experienced it will say it is wonderful. How can a man in this age look into the face of one who history records as having lived 3,000 years ago and know without any uncertainty he's looking into the face of his own son? And know that the son knows he is his father. Not only that he knows he is the father of the son, but the son knows it. And here there's a stretch of time. Now, others say that's impossible. But he knows it is wonderful. And he knows with such certainty that it is wonderful. Now, I have quoted tonight from the New English Bible, the 8th chapter of the book of Zechariah, which means Jehovah remembers. If he remembers, there must have been a moment when he forgot. And that's the whole story of the Bible. Though you were rich, you became poor. That these who were poor might become rich. And then you return where you have no want. You return to your glorified state where there is no want, where there is no hunger, where there is no pain, and you're above the organization of sex, therefore above concupiscence. And this is your destiny. So tonight, you might think this a profoundly spiritual one. And yet I tell you, time will prove to you it was a profoundly practical one. For while you were listening, he worked in the depths of your soul, and all your needs are met. Now, in a practical way, bring before your mind's eye a scene which would imply the fulfillment of your desire. Let it be perfectly still. You can freeze it, can't move unless you allow it to move. Tell it what it is supposed to hear. Tell it what it is supposed to do. It is supposed to hear that you are, and you name what you want it to hear. Bring anyone before your mind's eye. Bring any group before your mind's eye. See it clearly in your mind's eye. And then tell it, the frozen statues before you, what it's going to hear about you. And then you tell it, I am, and you name it. I am successful, or I am healthy, or I am wealthy, or I just name it, and then release it in you and see the animated faces smiling. They have got to go forward and move things in your world to hear that concerning you.